Our hour meeting turns into 6 sometimes.
True. I'm sorry, but
Sorry, not sorry.
sorry, not sorry. That's right.
We are live.
Perfect. Look at that.
Oh, I'm so excited to share the meme of the day today, Leah.
Gotta wait because the audience might not be ready for it. Hang on. I just need to get back into the Zoom room and push record, and then we'll be cooking with cheese. Hi, everybody. Hope you're all having a great day. There we are. Beautiful. Now we got a couple of minutes prior to when the show starts. How's your mic sounding? 5, 4, 3, 2.
Perfect.
Good. Excellent.
Sun's shining. I'm feeling good. I'm energized. Good start to the year already.
Very good. I can see you've got your flippy pictures of your family behind you.
My flippy pictures, that's a technical term. Yes. Yeah. My little birds come with me. It has all the fun photos that we took just in our backyard in the big park there. So it's my favorite little frame that keeps scrolling. It makes me smile every time I either see it in a meeting or when I'm walking back into my office. I think it's the first thing that kind of draws your attention.
Absolutely. They are so cute. That's great.
A little bird.
Got to love it. I had my little birds here last night. So if I'm looking a bit fatigued, it's because the grandsons were, well, actually all of them came for a quick little visit. And then the grandsons, the grand dudes had a sleepover. And there's not a lot of sleeping. They're pretty wild. They sleep with me, so, and I probably could put them in another room, but they just like to, so whatever. And, but Isaac decided it was a good idea to get up at 4 a.m. He's like, Grandma, you're up for the day, right? I'm like, this is even early for me, sweetheart. But,
well, for what it's worth, you're doing pretty good. I would never have noticed unless you said something. So.
All right. Yes. So if I'm not quite keeping up, you'll know what's going on. Not likely. I'll keep up. It's good. Fun and games. So we're almost coming to the top of the hour, hoping to have a couple people joining us. I know that I was just on a Zoom call and had some folks from the US saying that they were having trouble with their internet. So I wouldn't be too surprised if that's the case for the next few days. But looking forward to, I'm so glad that we do have the technology that we have, because then we can have replays.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. Now let's do one picture for the camera where we're not talking.
Jeez.
Excellent. Welcome to Master Your Life, the show of insight, intelligence, and inspiration, where I ask you each week to consider who is it you are right now and who is it you most would love to be. What kind of life are you trying to create? And how's that going for you? Are you keeping a good track of it? And are you making the tweaks and adjustments that you really want to make? Or are you looking towards other things that you might want to make just better and better and better? I'm host Leah Mattinson, and I'm joined this week on this wonderful Monday podcast by my 4-time guest, Gregory Bird. Greg, how are you doing today?
Yeah, amazing, actually, in the words of my son, Gavin, the wise one. Happy and honored to be back. So I'm really getting a kick out of the feedback we're getting. And I shared this with you in a call just yesterday, as I got a call from mom and dad, and in talks with the folks. They usually reserve this one for special occasions. They said, we're really proud of you and what you're doing. So, and they said what Leah's doing as well. So for what it's worth.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated. And much appreciated that everybody who's watching and tuning in and giving us feedback on the shows, because we could be talking to, the air. And so it does really matter that we have good feedback. Thank you so much, everybody. We just feel so grateful to be able to be on this platform and with one another and bringing these, really important messages forward for people to have conversations that they may never have had before. So it's exciting times. And this episode is no different. What we're going to be talking about this week is, what is the secret strategy for 2021? So Greg, I'm just going to knock it right over to you. What is the secret strategy for 2021?
Well, that's what we're going to cover today, but I think we need to do the meme of the day. I'm so excited to share this meme.
Meme of the day. Let's meme it up.
Of the day. Meme of the day. So you guys remember we're training you how to go through social media and try and sift through all the garbage that's out there and find the good ones. Well, here's a good one from my friend Paul in Calgary. I had to scroll about 3 scrolls before this one came up, and this one's really fitting. So here's 2 best friends, looks like best friends, sitting having a chat. It's you see the
gotta tip it a little bit more.
Let me come back here. Anyway, there's the caption right there. So it reads, the one fella goes, "Hey, we only live once." And then the buddy pipes up and says, "Wrong. We only die once. We live every day." And I thought, that's perfect. So I love this little social research we do for each episode, how much we prepare. Our 1-hour meeting last Thursday turned into 6. So I think everyone is in for a treat today.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love that the meme by your friend Paul was, it's like these random people that we meet and the synergistic connections that we make.
Let me add to that. So
yeah, it's because it's wild. It's just wild,
so,
right?
I just only met Paul like 3 weeks ago, and he was connected to 𝘼𝙗𝙩𝙩𝙡𝙚. They actually used to work together. So whoa, like 1 degree of separation, but we've never known each other before this year. And here he's on there, and he's on my social feed. And that one, ironically, that was the first positive message that popped up on my phone when you and I were researching a good meme to use on the show. So wow. So shout out to Paul, shout out to our good friend and now your friend Teresa. Some words of wisdom there.
Yes, absolutely. And again, so it's these wonderful connections that we're making and that are getting fired up. And the memes are going to keep coming, because I think that 2021 is going to be, especially for the first 8 weeks, is going to be pretty wild times worldwide. So really, we wanted to focus in on this because there's wisdom of the ages that I think people are looking to now and swinging back toward. That's incredibly fundamental to this 7 generations planning idea. And really, what are where are these nuggets of wisdom in our lives that, the past of things that we've learned from, but also what about the people who are already knocking it out of the park? So Greg, do you want to pick up on that?
Yes, I love that. So what we did is we surveyed several, I'd say couples, households, who have stuck together through this time, thick and thin. And it could be for the last decade, the last big trouble that we had, or even look at 2020 as an entity that what's working? What was the secret strategy? So my friends, family network, and Leah, now I'm a huge fan of game shows. One of my favorite game shows of all time was Family Feud. Remember that show?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and they've had a few hosts like throughout the year.
And it's still on. It's still on.
Yeah, they got that Jerry D guy as the host now. Good comedian, Canadian comedian. They've had that Louis Anderson, I believe, was one of them. And anyway, some great hosts through maybe I had a dream that I always wanted to be a game show host. So all my friends know that about me. So let's play a little Survey Says today. You ready?
Dreams coming true, Greg.
Here we go. So we surveyed several couples and households who've stuck together through things thick and thin. And we have the top 4 answers on the board of what their responses were. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Number 1 answer.
What's number one? The number 1 answer.
Number 1 answer on the board, Survey Says, is faith. Not only faith in God, but faith in one another. So Leah, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that's spot on, because if you have to first of all understand if you believe in God or you don't believe in God, because that helps a lot. There are people who don't believe that God exists at all, and so they're just an entity unto themselves. So there really is no higher authority, and there's also then nowhere to go when you're having difficulties. So I think faith's really important. Also, the fundamentals of, is your faith the same as your partner's faith, or is it similar? Because even that can create flow or friction. So part of that really important to sticking around for a long period of time. And there's worldwide so many people, blending together faiths and having a difficult time doing it. So I think we're going to see more harmonious relationships as we come to understand that a lot of, if we all just believed in God and got rid of the rest of the shenanigans, things would be pretty simple, a lot less war. What's your take on that, Greg?
I love that you bring it up. And we've been talking a lot about keeping the family unit together and just the decimation that where we are as a society. And I've said in my own observation, even the clients I've worked with over 17 years, that number is ever increasing, that I'm seeing these couples. So your plea, I believe, right before Christmas is, guys, just take, take a break, take a breath, like breathe, like look what you're doing. Stop the fighting just for a second, just have a conversation. And what we're striving to do is, if there's a household that's in distress, we're speaking to you guys right now by sharing some of these top answers with the households that are sticking together. And those are the ones, Leah, that I've seen, if I were to look at one common denominator, that are thriving through the last decade, even through the last year, and that are going to continue to thrive through 2021. This is those folks. But also those of you seeking a relationship, make sure that you maybe pay attention here. I know I am, and the next few answers that will pop up, I'm going to share with you and the listeners and the viewers. What an opportune time to talk about this stuff, Leah. The more we can do to putting this stuff out there, the better that we can do to keep people together. So you ready to hear the number 2 answer, or do you want to build
on number two? Drum roll, please.
All right. Number 2 answer is communication. So even having those, and just to build on that, having those hard conversations, right? And what are we going to do? Not just what am I going to do and you're going to live with it. What are we going to do to work together? And in a couple of the surveys I did, there was a couple really interesting things from a financial perspective. And Leah, may I share the first one?
Yes, definitely.
This was, God bless his soul, his name's Ed. And he was, his beautiful wife is named Mary. And when I first met him, he was 92 years old. And Ed would come into my office, he'd tell me stories of the war, and I was just so intrigued. And I always told him, I said, I get more value out of these conversations than I think you do hearing from me. So in all of his stories, one day I finally asked him, I said, Ed, I'm like, why doesn't Mary come to any of these meetings? And I'm going to build on that. Have you ever invited her to have the meetings at the bank? Because they had a lot of stuff that they worked at the bank. And he looked at me as if he'd seen a ghost. He's like, oh my God, nobody's ever asked me that question before. I said, well, do you think that's a problem? Like, what if something happens to you? You just told me that you had some heart problems and this, that, and the other thing. I said, if you forget to wake up tomorrow, is Mary going to know what to do? Leah.
I mean, it's just, yeah, communication is, well, you and I have a lot to learn, because we've said, both of us have been through divorces. I'll speak for myself, that I know that it's, that all of these things are fundamental to the things that we're talking about are fundamental to the decimation of relationships and the uptick of having a great relationship. So communication right now, I think a lot of people have got their nerves are pretty raw after the 2020. And so if you're not seasoned at communicating and saying what's actually on your heart, your feelings versus just what you think, then that's, treacherous terrain, where if you're able to actually share how you feel about things, that changes the dynamic a lot. The other thing with communication is that it's been very hijacked because we're not spending time with friends and family. So we're not spending time in those bigger social circles where we can talk through with other people, seeing them face to face and in the same room. That definitely changes how effective communication is. It changes the feeling of what somebody is actually trying to say. So even though you and I have this technology and we can kind of get a good sense of how each one of us is feeling, it's not the same as being in the same room. And so with couples that are together, I mean, whether they're together, in this weird time of their home together, or they're living separately from one another, or whatever it is, there's still this overcoming of this communication piece. And that's if they didn't have problems prior to 2020. So if they were cooking with cheese prior to 2020 and everything's all good, they still may have challenges because they might have spent the last 12 or 13 months at home with each other, which might be a totally mind-blowing new experience, or with kids in the house, like lots of different dynamics. that we just haven't seen. So I agree. It's like communication is really important, but your thoughts and your feelings aren't the same thing. Being in the same room is important. Right timing is important, so not having a conversation when your 2-year-old is hanging off the inside of your leg and you're mad already about something else that's happened. There's lots of sensitivities to other people. Oh, what about you? Because I know that's one. What's the opposite of that is like, well, that people do.
Well,
Yeah.
Hold on, you had me at cooking with cheese, so I've never heard that expression before. So I'm like sitting there, how can I use that? That's a good one. I'm going to use that now that I know the context of where it comes from. Anyway, yes. So communication, you know what? In one of the surveys I did with one of my clients, actually, they said, you know what? One of the best arguments they had was their very, very first one. And before I preface that story, there's the opposite of the argument, which is stonewalling.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, that one's the worst one for me. That's my Achilles heel. Like nothing like ripping your heart and soul out by stonewalling. So Leah, do you want to comment on that first before I tell my story?
Well, I think that it's the partner to the right timing thing. Like the right timing, you need to still talk about the thing. So even if the timing is not right now, it's a good idea to say to your partner, hey, I can't talk about this right now. Can you give me 10 minutes or, tomorrow, can we sleep on it? But have some agreements in place. But that's like, it's the opposite, I think, of the stonewalling is saying what your intention is, that you are intending on talking about whatever it is and not just leaving it forever. So that's such a good point.
Oh, yeah. Don't let it fester, right? If you got something to say, time it, like you said. Mm-hmm. Get the right venue, I think, to have the conversation or argument. There's healthy arguments can happen because again, it provokes change, right? And you can both take action from there. But the example I want to share, Leah, this is a real thing, is this fight that this couple talked about was over smoking. So you can swap out smoking with alcohol, you could swap it out with whatever, gambling, you swap it out with drugs. This particular couple, their monthly budget, that's where it came out. They realized once they took a step back and actually had this fight, they're like, oh my God, we're spending hundreds of dollars per month on cigarettes when they were actually spending more money, they said, than their own vehicle payment in this example. So that actually provoked some positive change, that not only did the one person voice their opinion and they had that argument, but they were then able to work together. Because how many times, Leah, have you heard people will quit smoking, they might not have the full love and support of their partner, and then what happens?
Then they fail every time. And then they blame each other. So there's all this, like we said, do you remember that time we tried quit smoking 5 years ago? And you did that thing where you just like, you're seeking cigarettes. I could tell. No.
You drove me to drinking too. So then you compounded the problem.
That's right. But I know a ton of people who also, like in the day when smokes were, $10 a pack or $5, $2.50 a pack. That when they quit smoking, they could go on a trip to Hawaii. So now that the cost of smoking is, I think it's over $20 a pack for smokes. I feel like that's what it is.
I'm not a smoker, so don't ask me.
I'm not either, but like, wow. But you do hear about all that, like what looks like just like drug addictions and gambling. And to your point, a couple episodes ago, where you're talking about, the stuff coming up on people's phones and they're buying lottery tickets and et cetera, et cetera. It's just, it can become a thing that's out of hand because you don't even know how much you're spending on it. So that couple was really cool because they actually sat down and went, how much are we spending? And this really makes sense. Awesome. Yep. So how about, go ahead.
I can build on that. So the good ending of that story is that moment in time, this was now years ago, they were able to make a change. And the one partner supported the other. The one admitted that, took a couple goes to try and quit that addiction, quit that smoking habit. But in the end, what was so beautiful is that they were able to then allocate money to savings. And that's the one question I asked. So what did you do? And they were able to then sock some money away. And what an important thing to do is, have that savings, whether it's for your retirement, whether it's just a rainy day fund, that emergency savings, or just to take that proverbial trip to Disneyland, right? So,
yeah, absolutely.
Let's go to Disneyland. Right?
That's right. And what's the wisdom there too is that couple did not divert it to another addiction, which is often what you see people do. They'll swap addictions. So take a moment out, have a little applause. Fabulous example. All right. All right.
Moral of that
Let's see.
story, make sure we help each other, communication, support it, have that constructive argument. Can I say, is that a fair statement?
That's a very fair statement. Arm wrestling also was okay.
In this particular example, if you knew the people I was talking about, I don't know who would win.
That's right. That could go a lot of ways. All right. So here we go. Game show host, Gregory. The secret strategy for 2021, number 3. What's number 3?
Number 3, which is kind of cool that it kind of ties in the last thing that I said there. Number 3 is projects, or work together as a team doing something, or make a dream board, so to speak. Working together, there's that whole saying, I think we've heard it, the listeners may have heard this, those who play together stay together. That can be another spin on this. Work together as a team. It could be as simple as just having a game of cards, just doing a puzzle together, painting a picture together. Or Leah, I want to share with you, or you to share that bigger project that can take place.
Raising children, having a family.
That's quite a project.
Having a family, that's a big project. That's the biggest project, and so again, it's been hijacked a lot over the last 30, 40, 50 years, where the family's become one of the least important things. And it's all really more about keeping a roof over your head and having all the stuff, whatever the stuff is. But the kids have been kind of left in the dust, and that's left a lot of people having a lot of wish that I could have a do-over on that feeling. And so here we are again at this beautiful time of the reset of the mastering your life and going, okay, where is it that I am right now? What is it I would like? Not just for myself, but for my family. So the project of raising your kids doesn't end. It's like an ongoing, you think they're going to leave. Ask my parents. Does Leah still rely on you for some things? They would probably say, yeah, she does. And so kids grow up, but they still need their parents. And little kids grow up and become teenagers and then become 20-year-olds. And then all of a sudden you've got more grandkids and then multiple generations. My parents are great grandparents to several children at this point, and still a lot of the family relies on them to be all of these things we've talked about, to have faith, have good communication, do projects with them, so the projects expand beyond just our projects. What would be some examples for you, Greg?
You know what? And one that I've seen, actually, if I looked at a few of the people that I surveyed, many couples, projects around the house. I heard this one a lot over 2020 because we're all stuck at home and locked in. So why not, let's redo the bathroom, or let's redo the basement. Or in my folks' case, it's like, let's work on phase 5 of putting a whole new addition at the front of the house, which is beautiful. But again, these projects, they work together, right? I can even remember shingling the roof together with not only mom and dad and the crew, but Grandma Helen actually came out and helped shingle the roof on our last family project that we did together. So talk about what a family bonding event across the generations. And then my oldest son was actually able to help. So there you got a few generations there at play, all working on that same family project. I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah, it is absolutely fantastic. I've got, countless examples. I was amazed at my parents putting in their back patio just a couple of years ago. And I was trying to find a picture of it, but my phone's going off, so I can't find it. But maybe the next podcast I'll find it, because my dad's not, wouldn't be considered quote unquote well with this. He has Huntington's disease, so he has a very significant movement disorder, and he's still out there doing what he can do. And, he'll spend, they're very, just determined, right? Determined and meticulous. And so instead of actually getting somebody else to do it, this was their project. Like they're going to do it as a team. So they go out there, do whatever needs to remove roots from the ground. So it's not like, like they're removing roots, they're removing rocks, they're putting in this really heavy duty patio. It's difficult physical labor, and they're still out there doing it. And I have so much pride in my parents for just having that tenacity and doing things together and complimenting one another. I think is the other thing, like you see the complimenting of one another, and the adoration too, I think is this other thing that you see when they're working together, that like people often take for granted or don't credit the other partner and say, wow, that was really incredible work. And so there's a lot of wisdom to be learned just in that the adoration or the real deep appreciation for somebody else showing up and putting in the work every day, day in, day out. They just celebrated their anniversary this week. So, they've been together a long time. I don't want to age myself here, folks. Hang on a minute.
You are 30.
Better not share it. That's right. It's less than 60. No, I'm kidding. But it's 56 years they've been married as of yesterday. And so, but that's 56 years of projects together, and lots of really awesome, and I'm sure challenging times to look back on and to grow from it as a couple. But all the family, again, it's like goes there, just to your example, goes there, pitches in a little bit, but doesn't take over. Like there's this other understanding about, where the boundaries are and respecting those boundaries. So projects.
Love that. Yeah. Love the sense of accomplishment that comes from that too, right?
Yes, definitely.
No,
are we
good.
done? That's our project. Just kidding.
Yeah. But there's one more thing I want to add from a financial perspective.
Yes.
We talk about that dream board. Sometimes it's nice to just write it down, because when you sit and yak and talk about it, I find most of the time it never gets done or accomplished. So actually writing it down and putting some effort into creating that visualization, I think, is really, really important. Do you want to speak to that just for a minute?
Yeah. Vision boards have been used forever. For, hieroglyphs are probably vision boards. We want 3 buffaloes today from our hunt. And so this predetermining, what we want can also help to bring a focus in on what we don't want. So once there's some really strategies. I wrote a book too called Silver Linings, The Essential Guide to Courage, Self-Esteem, and Wellness. And in that, I talk about vision boards and actually how to do it. Can be a very quick exercise. But the things that were on my vision board from like 20 years ago, most of them have come to pass, and not necessarily in ways that I would have thought, but they've come to pass. And then it's very interesting, but they help to direct your life. And then you'll also notice the things that you maybe haven't put on them that you might want to, add. And this is a really great time of year for doing that. This reset time, taking a look at what it is you want in all of the abundance areas of your life. So health, finance, your career. There's so much reset happening with people working from home or loss of work, loss of employment. So, and then that long-term plan, like, do you see yourself as a parent? Do you see yourself in relationship with somebody? Do you see yourself as a grandparent? And then like the vision, I often think of happy. It's like the happy grandchildren, the happy children. And sometimes that includes travel and sometimes it's money, but there's all kinds of things you can put on, and do it for yourself. Like, don't let anyone else edit your vision board, I think, is a big thing too. And so opinions not allowed here. It's your work. And you could do probably a vision board as a couple. Have you ever heard of people doing that, Greg?
Yes, I have. In fact, these, what I help in a lot of the financial planning, if you think of the biggest dream board people usually have, or the biggest financial asset that they have, is their home, right? So anyone who's out there right now that's either renting or whatever, they don't actually own their own home yet, is taking the steps to put that plan in place, because then you need to do the things to save up for the down payment. You got to get a good credit, all these things that you need to focus on to get to that point. And I want to share how proud I am of there's a brother and sister came in and started doing this exercise with me with that whole financial game plan back when they were 22 years old. And what was so cool is they have, believe it or not, 10 years later, enough money now to put money down on a condo. So again, the earlier you start, that was the biggest theme of what I want to share with you, that the sooner you start, the better. Don't wait, because I can tell you, if I didn't even listen to my own advice and guidance, if I saw all my money coming into my account, it'd be gone every single month if I didn't have a plan that put into place. Some of these automatic things that get put into place, whether it's an automatic contribution or savings or insurance, whatever. One thing my dad taught me was one of the greatest books he bought was The Automatic Millionaire. And he shared this with me that, sometimes when you just automate the process in your financial plan, you'll just stick to it. And sometimes you don't even notice a little money coming out of your bank account, but at least it's going towards something good. So dream board, perfect project. This is all what we're talking about here, whether it's a house, whether it's redoing the house, whether it's taking a trip, when you want to take that vacation. I hear that all the time. You guys, don't just put on your credit card. My God, just back it up, save for it. Then you'll have that money. You'll feel so much better about taking that trip and being able to enjoy it and have that sense of accomplishment that comes with it.
Right on, right on. Have you ever given up a bad habit so that you could have something? Ooh.
Never.
Oh, everyone who's watching is going to be going, hang on a minute. No.
Yeah, we all have. Yes, I have. I already admitted it on the last one, was skip the dishes. I said, no more skip the dishes.
Right. So nothing, so anything in the past? I'm curious. It's like past bad habits that you've given up?
Yeah, well, it's more so actually the formation of better habits. The one was that kind of ties into what we were going to talk about next, was the, investing some time in you, in your physical health and mental health. That's one thing I really did change, was creating not only a bad habit. Let's build on that. Actually, my time management was the worst habit that I had, was maybe working too hard, was a bad habit. It contributed to the catalyst of maybe my former relationships breaking down. And actually just the awareness of that, and someone pointing that out to me, and then actually working with a wellness coach to get me back on track, that was a big one. And then reallocating some time to really take care of the mental health, the physical health, because those two are connected. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. I would agree. But before we get into the mental and physical health, we need to know number 4. We got to know number 4.
Number 4, and I think this kind of encapsulates everything here. Yeah, and you know what's funny? They each, in the survey, they have the little numbers. They're actually pretty even. So there's not one that's a landslide over the other.
Right.
Okay, so we have faith, we have communication, we have projects together. Number 4, you ready?
Ready.
Forgiveness. Right? So we are human. We all mess up. Nobody's perfect. How can you have forgiveness? And I want to share one. I'm actually reading a book. It was given to me by a great author. I got to meet this guy actually at the book launch. His name is Mark Sakamoto, and his book is actually titled Forgiveness. And below it, I don't know if you can, it says, "A gift from my grandparents." And it's a beautiful story of forgiveness. So it takes place kind of that circa World War II and the tensions between the Canada, US, and the Japanese. And with the name Sakamoto, of course, he's got half of his family was Japanese, half of his family being Canadian, and have come together. And without forgiveness, he says that he would never have walked this earth. It's just a beautiful book. He writes it from a real pace that you can actually really get in his eyes. And I love that first person point of view. So forgiveness. Leah, I want your comments on forgiveness.
Well, I think it's a good thing to practice. I think also self-forgiveness is probably the big thing. Forgiving yourself, and then you can figure out how to forgive other people. But until you forgive yourself for your humanness, it's very difficult to forgive others. And it's a thing that we carry on our soul, when you don't let go of things. And also the loss of ability to do things is another thing that we have to forgive ourselves as we age, or as things don't become so easy for us to do for whatever reason. It can be a physical disability. It can be a mental health thing. I think people have really struggled this past year with mental health issues and physical health. Like a lot of people have put on weight because they've been at home, and they have, it's been a very weird paradigm.
COVID-19.
Yeah.
Like the freshman 15.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people have struggled with mental health things that they would have never thought that they would ever have encountered in their life. So you can get into this very recriminating voice of, well, you should know better. What's wrong with you? So that beating yourself up, but that needs to be flipped. And instead, the messages of, forgiving yourself for whatever has happened in 2020 or even prior, like your whole life, and just looking back and going, well, that was then, this is now. And so got to clean up the act. There's been some really interesting things in the field of psychology around how ineffective traditional psychological approaches are, because there's so much time spent in bringing up the past, and that you can't effectively change anything back there. So there's a lot more modalities now of coaching, coach psychology together, where they're encouraging people to actually stop spending so much time back there and instead get grounded here in what is the reality right now, in the sanity of this moment. And then what are you going to do moving forward? And so the ability to forgive self and others then allows you to move forward with a clean slate. And that's not holding something in a bag so that you can kitchen sink somebody with it later, or yourself. So it becomes this practiced habit of how do you exactly. Oh, I thought we had done dealing with that. Nope, I'm going to bring it up. It happened like in 1983, but we're going to talk about it in 2021. It's like, that is like, no, you've got to, it's part of this. Yeah, it's a no. That's a heck no. Don't do that. Forgive yourself also, though, for any old tactics that you used to use. This is the new tactics. This is the new time. This is higher mind. This is higher consciousness, where we're learning to relate to one another and communicate. And the shared vision of a vibration of love and understanding and peace, and harmony, and those underpinnings. But then from there, you can forgive not only yourself for being harsh, maybe, and combative or resentful. Not that I've ever been any of those things. Moving past it. Greg.
Well, you know what? Also, I was going to say, we've made financial blunders in the past. So from a financial perspective,
yes.
One, I will honestly admit, and I'm just going to, why we're trying to help couples that are in the house. I know they're fighting the good fight, but they're just at a certain tension point. If we can say something today that helps them stop the fight, take a breath, have the right conversation at the right time. This is an ugly one, is getting, once you take that step where you're now litigating and you've got lawyers, I'm going to tell you, lawyers ain't cheap. So remember, at the end of the day, if you've got children that are part of that fight, to take that step back and just see what you're doing. Is it going to help the kids in the end, or is it going to be detrimental? So anyone facing that reality right now, again, focus back on you, the self. And then if you are in a family unit or a couple, a relationship, a marriage, just really take the time to listen to what we're saying. And these are some of the tips from the pros, so to speak, right?
Absolutely. I had people staying at my B&B prior to the COVID shenanigan fest, because nobody can stay here now. But I had people doing this strategy of taking a week away from their partners, because there was just so much tension that you can't even think straight, and you don't think straight. So a good little 7-day reset of not turning to alcohol, drugs, porn, gambling, et cetera, which is a lot of what people end up doing, because they really don't know what to do. I need a break. I need to get away from my partner, but it's like, am I going to go and sit in a hotel room by myself? Then I'm going to, what kind of trouble am I going to get into doing that? And so there's not been a lot of ways to get space for people either, so that they can cool their jets and calm down. So this energy, this very ramped up energy, you're seeing it worldwide, guys. You know it, that this is happening, but it will start to subside kind of at the spring equinox. But we're going to have kind of this rolling on energy for almost all of 2021. So it's also being mindful that that's only 12 months of your life. You made it through 2020. That's the hardest year that we're going to face in a very long time. And so here we are. We know we've got about 8 weeks left of this tension and compression, which it is, which allows you also, though, to really look at things that are not serving you in your life. This is the perfect time to get rid of those things that don't serve you. The absolutely perfect time to do that. So there's lots of catalysts right now, and maybe that is your relationship. I don't know, but but be thinking about it. We've talked in prior episodes, Greg, about people having things in place so that they're not decimating each other and they're not decimating their families. And that those, yeah, and we'll be talking about that in future episodes as well. But just be very mindful right now. If you're listening to this week, be mindful and some nice inhale in, exhale out, forgive. Exactly. Forgive.
There's a beautiful message in this book that he wrote to me. And I like that all the books I have in my little library, I always encourage either the author, if I'm at a book signing, to sign it. But he has a really neat message he has in here. I want to share this with everybody if I could.
Love to. Loved it. Love it.
So this is from the author, Mark Sakamoto. It says, Greg, forgiveness, it's all about the future. Keep your eye there. the best. Mark Sakamoto. Beautiful, eh?
Love it. Maybe I'll have to have him on the podcast. He sounds like he'd be a good guest.
He's a good guy. I could reach out to him.
That would be great. All
All
right.
right, so we're done our game show.
Great.
Four top answers. Let's recap. Ready? Faith, number 1. Number 2 answer was communication.
Yes.
Number 3, projects. Number 4, forgiveness. And I think what you just said it best to sum it up is just have that love for one another and what you guys are doing, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And think about, is your spirituality in alignment with your technology, or is your technology taking over your spirituality? And we'll get more into that also, in upcoming broadcasts. But for today, we're going to keep it kind of in the wheelhouse of really looking at your relationship and how, and so kind of the takeaway points around finances. Greg, do you have any?
Yeah, I do. So again, in the first one, that faith in one another, you have to have that faith and that commitment to really, that ties in with the commitment of you're here for a common goal, to succeed, to thrive. You don't want to just survive. I do believe if you're in it and you're sticking to these 4 points and really working together to really be on that same page, I think that is so, so important. And together, you're only going to be stronger. So that from a financial standpoint, you're going to accomplish those dreams. So how is you going to do that? The next point, equally as important, communication. Sometimes have those hard conversations. It's not all lovey-dovey. All relationships always go. But every relationship goes through peaks and valleys, but don't be afraid to have those conversations at the peaks and the valleys, because those conversations, sometimes those arguments, are what saves a marriage, what saves a relationship. And that's the common theme I've seen in the ones that we reached out to, Leah, and that whole thing, remember about the smoking. And again, we talked about how that could free up income from a financial perspective month after month. Where, remember the one couple, they couldn't even find the 10% to pay themselves first. Well, this is probably in a lot of relationships a real stickler hot button, either with one or the other or both. What's some things you guys can do to work together and communicate better to free up some of that income that will allow you to buy that house in the future, the new vehicle, take the trip with the kids, spend time together at the cottage, whatever it may be. Right. Number 2. Number 3, that project's a dream board is so beautiful, right? Because it ties in together with the first 2, is working together, freeing up that money to do it. But, whether it's building or buying that first home together, what a beautiful moment in time that can be for so many people. So let's take the time over this next little time frame. 2021, I believe, is a year for change. We've already had the shock and awe of 2020. We've all adapted. We've all developed these new skill sets that we never had before. How can we work together going forward to accomplish some of those dreams? Write it down so you can visualize it. There's so much power in that. And then if I were to sum up the last point there, forgiveness. You know what, just like Mark Sakamoto said, keep your eye on the future. How can you forgive yourself for messing up? Because nobody's perfect. And how can we work together in the future, forgive one another? There's such a powerful message in all of that. So bringing it all together, having the awareness of what's going on around you, and the love that you can bring not only to yourself, to your partner, to your family, to your friends, but to the world, is all equally important.
Yeah. And I love what you point out there is like, write it down, and to further that, start now. Start now, start now, start now, start now, start now. Because you're not guaranteed tomorrow. You're not guaranteed anything. But if you've got a little bit of a fire lit in your belly or in your heart or in your mind about creating something different in your life, then do the work. Take the time to write it down. You deserve that. Your family deserves that. Your relationships deserve that. This is what dreams are made of. This is where the juice is. This is where the fun is actually in the planning. It's the journey that's the good time, guys, not the destination. You know that once you get there, it's like having a big wedding. And after the wedding's over, everyone goes, well, that was, now what? So just.
Yeah. Leah, there's a movie I just watched recently that speaks it contextualizes what you just said. It's called Soul. And I encourage everyone to watch this. It was such a beautifully well done movie. And it talks about that guy. He was always about the moment. And then when he had the moment, he's like, he forgot about the journey on the way there. And it gives me goosebumps sharing that. So I encourage you all to watch it. My kids loved it. Absolutely. They said, Dad, that was the favoriteest cartoon we've ever watched, was Soul.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun. I did watch that. I did. It was very good. It is it's very interesting and very uniquely done. I'm not going to say anything more and be a spoiler, but it's
Spoiler alert.
spoiler. Totally not. I can wait for Santa Claus. I'm that much not of a spoiler. I'm a waiter. Exactly. All right. So I know we were going to talk a little bit about physical and mental health
Yes.
and the top 3 things that that help people to thrive in 2020. Let's get into the meat of that a little bit.
Yes, I love that. So second survey, round 2. Are you ready?
You guys are so lucky today, bringing in 2 surveys. Ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. So we surveyed again. If you think of all the people out there that have thrived, and I'm not talking about everyone in the middle that have survived, the ones that have thrived, that have seen growth out of 2020, I surveyed those folks, and you did a brief survey as well, and we compiled our results. Here's the top 3 things on the board. The number 1 answer, you know what it is?
What is it?
Having a good team around you. Mentorship. And Lee, if you want to speak to that, it comes in a few realms.
Yeah, I asked this question throughout the span of my 3-decade coaching career. And people who are successful always have great coaches. Every single one of them has a great coach that has achieved what they want to achieve and that is a trustworthy person. So in all things, whether that's athletics, finance, I often say to people who come for business coaching, don't hire a 5-figure business coach if you're trying to build a 6-figure business. So people who have farms, don't hire a, whatever, some sort of, business planner that doesn't know anything about farming, because they can't help you. That just makes common sense, right? But oftentimes people will bring people on that haven't achieved the result that they're wanting to get. And then they're disappointed, so this is, again, that conscious raising of the higher mind of, okay, what am I trying to achieve with my finances? What am I trying to achieve with my health? What am I trying to achieve with my family health? And I had the pleasure of working with a family last year that had a grandmother, a mother, and a young guy who was 11 years old, who all had fatty liver disease. And accountants, so not schleppy, not intelligent people, but really couldn't understand why they had this illness, thought they were eating pretty well. The grandmother had 3 rounds with cancer, she had major surgery to have her, just lots of things. They were in bad shape. So they got working with me, and the son, the young guy, the grandson, got off the fatty liver list in 2 months.
Wow.
2 months. Yeah. And so there's very much, and they've been trying everything for years and years and years to get well. And, they said, why aren't they teaching this stuff at the cancer clinic? Why not? There's bowls of candy at the cancer clinic. I said, you can tell you who isn't your friend. So anyway, and I'm using that as an extreme example, but it's not really that extreme, because when we look at the number of people who are really in serious chronic health conditions, and that's just escalated over 2020. That people need to be looking to people who are wise advisors to be able to help with these things, people who've achieved results, and not just going to somebody else who's going to cut out another body part. Greg?
Yeah, I love that. Find the wise guys, I heard you say.
I did.
I heard it. The wise guys. So I want to share with you this one guy, and I got his permission to share his name. Out of all my 17 years in this business, I was able to mentor this one advisor, and his name's Michael Craig Jensen. And I've never seen in all my life a guy take to my style of coaching the way this guy has, and he has excelled. If I can't even put it on a map of exponential growth he's experienced. It's well over 300% and growing to 400% or 500%.
Right.
But one thing I asked him, I said, Craig, what's some of the secret of your success? And 2 of the things that popped up, and as I called him here this morning, because we have weekly focus calls together, is he was out for a 5-mile jog. I'm like, well, there's something to be said for that. Physical health. He's been taking care of his body, to your other point. And there was another one he said was meditation, taking care of his mental health, giving his mind a break. So, and his sleep patterns, which I'm going to throw it back over to you, how important that is.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll throw that back at you because it's like the struggling with sleep. Well, yeah, sleep. I've interviewed lots of, I've had people from Harvard on the show, on the Master Your Life show, talking about the whole problem with sleep. But we heal when we sleep, and we also allow all kinds of unconscious, awesome things to happen while we're not working so hard at it, while our brain is relaxed and while our body is relaxed. And when we are not getting enough sleep, that can very much stack on us in a really quick hurry to a lot of unwell feelings. So you don't sleep, you eat more. You don't sleep, you watch more TV. So you're wiring your brain to be wired and fired more of the time. So you're not giving yourself that neurological advantage of having a really good night's sleep, of cleaning up all the old debris from your brain and thereby the rest of your body. The mind leads the chi. So your brain leads your energy. And so if your energy is low because you're not getting enough sleep, it can hijack your good decision making. So if you're only making one big decision a day and you're not sleeping, your decision making is poor. All your executive functioning is compromised. So problem solving, decision making, memory, that kind of thing. There, see, I didn't get enough sleep last night. So I said that kind of thing because I couldn't remember. What?
Greg, back for you.
Hang on, I gotta go to sleep.
There you go. Go have a nap, Leah. I'll take it from here.
That's
Anyway.
right. Thanks,
You
Greg.
gave me you gave me a great tip, because I can admit it. I was actually losing sleep over this last few weeks, and part of the reason I was so charged up with some of this work that we're doing, that there you have it, folks. I was losing sleep for you. Is I was just so excited about what are we going to present next, and what message can we deliver. And you gave me a tip, and I want everyone to hear this because it's working fantastically. Is you said put on like a little just meditation music in the background as you fall asleep. Well, oh my God, ever since I started doing that, I've been dreaming again and dreaming more and just having a nice restful sleep. So I wake up, I've got my energy tanks right back at 100%.
Yeah. And there's a big distinction too, Greg. So if people are looking at doing this, I know people say that they fall asleep to music or the TV. The TV is your worst enemy. Get your TV out of your bedroom, if you possibly, out of your sleep space. So I did a whole series on sleep hygiene because it's so, our bodies are so messed up. Anyway, sleep hygiene, really important. So clean up your sleep space. Take your TVs out. When you're listening to stuff, pay attention to the lyrics. Make sure there's no ads in it. So if you're on YouTube on a free station and you're putting in earbuds, you're getting a free advertisement once every half hour or so. So and be mindful that the things that you're listening to are not full of things that you don't want. So some people will, young people will put on get jiggy with it music, and I'll go, are you listening to the words at all in what you're actually putting in your mind? Go, oh no, I didn't. Then they look up the lyrics, which we're going to get into that, but look up the lyrics and they go, oh my God, I didn't know that was about, pole dancing in the bar and getting some booty. I'm like, that's what it's about. Oh, no wonder I don't feel like I've had any sleep. That's
why
right.
do I want to go to the bar?
Why do I want to go to the bar? Date all the girls. That's but it's that insidious, right? Because you go, oh, I really like that's a catchy tune. And then, you listen to it and you're like, oh my gosh, there you go. But it's important to pay attention to these things, not to get too far off in the weeds. I know we're running out of time. So physical health. Number three.
All right. Because I lumped in physical health and mental health as
perfect.
One. That was number two.
Yes.
The top three answers on the board. Number three is they circled back to all the people in 2020 that they knew and trust in their community. Mm-hmm. So friends, close network. They didn't go and try and expand their network with complete strangers, but they circled back to the ones that they love, trust, and know and have some credibility with. That was the third answer.
Yeah, I know I did that. That's why you and I got reconnected, because I was like, you had sent me an invitation for some BNI meeting, I think. Greg does some other things that are awesome. He'll talk about those on other episodes, or you can find out when you reach out to him about all the things that he's involved with. But yeah, you reached out to invite me to a business networking meeting. And I went, oh, that sounds very cool. And then I couldn't get there. But I kept it it must have been in the back burner because I needed some information and some help with something. And went, oh yeah, I know. I should get a hold of Greg. And so that's how that went. But how about you? Did you get a hold of people from?
Yes. Yeah. And you know what, even more so, I'm going to build upon that. Connected with people that I haven't seen, like people I rode the bus with, people
Right.
that have, and even just recently, since you and I have been doing this show, is people have reached out to me from not only my own community, not only from our own province, not only from our Canada-wide, but I'm now getting calls and emails and messages from your viewers in the US and the UK. I think that is absolutely wonderful that our message is getting out there, Leah. So I shared that with you today, and you're like, wow, yeah, people are listening. So
They are. And they're not just listening, but they reach out and you actually have good advice for them, Greg, which I appreciate about you, is that you won't just say to them, oh, you live wherever you are, and sorry, I can't help you because you live wherever you are. You had some very nice response for the folks who reached out to you. And that's important in the networking world also. And because we don't know where technology is taking us, we don't know who we might be. We don't know who we might be cohabitating with in this next even year. Who knows? Right. So Canada might not look the same. The geography might change in the, political landscape that we're living in. Who knows? So there's all these very cool connections that we've been able to make. I'm trying to think of who else I reached out. I did reach out to foreigners this year, which was interesting. But because because the podcast is global, when we saw what was going on with on the UK Health Radio site, that people were really seeking information about the whole Shenanigans-Fest, we'll call it that. There's just been a very, very big need for a big, diverse viewpoint, so that people who want to master their lives will listen to lots of different information and be discerning for themselves, which I think shows a mentally healthy person, when you can look at and listen to diverse opinions and then sort of bring that into your internal knowing and go, okay, what sounds real to me and what sounds like a fiction. So I reached out to a lot of people that I didn't know also and went, well, what do you know? What do you know? What do you know? And then this thing has grown substantially. But one of the things that was important in being able to do that is you need to have anchor points. And those are the people who are your locals, the people who you've known forever, and that the speed of trust is just like that, right? So Greg was able to come over, have an in-person, see him, so he's like the real deal. And this is important because when we're planning, especially with money and health, because they're not something that you can get your time back. You don't get your time back, and it's hard to get your money back. So it's really important to work with people that and that can even make recommendations, so and Greg, I know you can speak to that maybe a bit more.
Well, we're coming up on the hour, but I just want to share and just laugh at, I've learned 2 new phrases I've added to my vocabulary. So cooking with cheese and Shenanigans-Fest. Say that fast 5 times.
Shenanigans-Fest.
Shenanigans, yeah, that thing.
There you go.
Anyway.
Ding, ding.
You had mentioned lyrics and how powerful they can be in a song, because our subconscious mind is always working and firing. So how do you want to end the show today?
Well, I think you should take it out with a song. Aren't you going to sing? Oh, hang on. Maybe you're not.
I don't want to torture your listeners again. I wish I was a rock star. I think that was a dream as a kid, but.
Do you have a song by the Byrds? The song by the Byrds?
Oh, yeah. So the song that we thought of, what would be fitting? And we're like scrolling through. We wanted to do something throwback to the 60s.
Yes.
So we're like, what are the top songs of the 60s? And this one popped up. We have time to reference who wrote it. It's by the Byrds.
Yeah, go ahead. You could, you do it. You've got the homework done.
So written by the Byrds, not B-I-R-D birds, like all the birds of Viking, but the Byrds, B-Y-R-D. So I can't remember his name now. I don't have it on my phone. It's Pete Seeger. Is that right?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, but brilliant man. And he had some really neat words of wisdom he wants to share. So for your audience, a treat for the week, a song from the 60s by the Byrds.
Right. And Greg's not going to sing it. How sad is that? But
it's going to be singing and playing in my head along with everybody, because everyone's heard the song. I always wondered why I liked this song.
Yeah.
But when I actually read the words, that's why I like it now. Are you ready?
Yes. Ready.
Okay. By the Byrds. Turn, turn, turn. To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season. Turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to weep, To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, 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 and a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to dance, a time to mourn, a time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, 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 and a time to every purpose under heaven. A time of love, a time of hate, a time of war, a time of peace, a time you may embrace, a time to refrain from embracing, a time to gain, a time to lose, a time to rend, a time to sow, a time for love, a time for hate, a time for peace. I swear it's not too late. The birds.
To the birds. Could that be any more beautifully put? I don't think so. So we need to get a playlist started. That's for sure. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Greg, for joining me once again with your wisdom, your wit, and your game show awesomeness. Because I can't do that. I have my skill set. Greg has his skill set. And just want to, I think from both of us, say thank you so much for everybody. Reach out to Greg if you have any financial questions or about financial planning. And I just want to state again that the financial planning services that you provide are, free of charge. So when people want to actually have the first communications or ongoing communications, that's a really big gift for people. And I think often they mistake that they're going to have to, you have to pay for it in advance. But don't wait. It's like, reach out. You can also reach out to me with all your health, wellness, any mental health questions. So you can reach me at Leah Mattinson or Leah at leahmattinson.com. You can reach, or at Gmail, Leah Mattinson Gmail, all my ways of getting in touch with me. Greg's, it will be under in the show notes as well. And thank you everyone for tuning in once again. Just to invite you, if this has been helpful to you, then please like it, share it, share it, share it, share it. And your comments are oh so important. We really appreciate that. Love yourselves, love each other, mind your minds. And that's all for us. Bye for now.
Thanks, Leah.
Thanks.